Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Well, the Russians say this: we are ready and willing to respond to any threat. Any threat. So, I hope that the guys in the West picked up the vibe coming from the Russians, and that is backed up off. But no, that's exactly what they want. They want to push as much as they want in order for some profiteers to make a big profit kill. So what do we have here? Putin comes out and says Moscow ready to respond to any threat. Donald Trump says Trump issues a new pledge to Poland and the Baltics. Lithuania summons Russian representative over fighter jets in Estonian airspace. Poland reported its airspace was violated by about 19 Russian drones. Estonia reported that 3 MiG-31s violated its airspace. Germany summoned 3, or scrambled, more precise, its Eurofighter jets, or whatever they are, in the Baltic Sea to get some IL something reconnaissance plane that was flying in international airspace. What's going on here? Well, some people might say, and I disagree with that the Russians are becoming more aggressive and they want to take over the world, as the media told us all the time. The Russians want to recreate the empire, the Russian Empire, which is great. You know why? Because it has limits. If you want to recreate a former empire, that means you know how far the Russians will be going. But if you say the Americans want to create an empire, you don't know the limits, because it could be the whole world. All right? So that's the first one. And the second one, the Russians just have imperialistic tendencies. The United States of America does not, or Israel. No, at all. So it seems to me that the Russians are trying to grab other people's lands and enslave other people. This is what the media tells us, and the Hollywood portrays, and some politicians, because we are baboons and we can't think for ourselves. Or there are some interests in the West trying to plunder Russia's resources, change their culture, traditions, and make their citizens, or the Russians, work like modern slaves. I think this is more accurate than the first one with the imperialistic view. So let me show you what's going on over here. Let's start with this article. Ukrainska Pravda. Lithuania summons Russian representatives over fighter jets in Estonian airspace. So Lithuania, it's a country away from Estonia. I will show you on the map. So one country summons another country's, the second country's representative over fighter jets in the third country. You understand? How does that work? All right, let me show you. Let's go to the map right here. So this is the map of Europe. This is Estonia. Lithuania is right here. Latvia is between Estonia and Lithuania. Lithuania is the guys who summoned the representatives for a violation in this state right here. I personally remember that Estonia summons the Russian ambassador, blah blah blah, and have a protest. Not these guys. But as we can see, and we've seen this for the past 3 years and a half, all these countries, and I'm going to name them by name because it's name by name: Finland, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, these are the Baltic states right here, Poland, Czech Republic, but I leave Czech Republic a little bit further because they are more into Central Europe. All right, these are the countries mainly yapping and provoking right here. I say provoking. They could keep their mouth shut, but they didn't. They have been doing this for 3 years and a half. I'm talking about Estonia. Now Lithuania summons these guys for doing something to Estonia. Why not Germany? Germany had the same right, not Germany, let's say France that had the same right as Lithuania to summon the Russian ambassador or authorities or whatever representatives about Estonia's violation. But they didn't, only Lithuania did. Guys, you will be used and Russia will smack you. Why? You see this little part here? This is called Kaliningrad. This is Russia. They don't like it here a bit. Right here, this is Poland, remember. They want this to go to whomever, these two countries, or I don't know, just disappear. So they summoned. But hey, it's the Russians who, for instance, in this instance, who challenges who? Is it Russia challenging Lithuania, or Lithuania actually pokes the Russians? Remember, the Japanese imposed sanctions on Russia for Ukraine. Why? And then the Japanese cried because the Russians told them, well, the Kuril Islands or the Northern Territories will never be yours. That's over. And the Japanese are, why? The same with the Estonians. Why would you violate our airspace? Which is wrong. But what have you been done to us for the past 3 years and a half? Do you think your actions will not have consequences? Remember, accountability. All right, remember that beautiful clip that I love a lot. I should make it like my... There's 2 clips I want to make. I want to put on my channel as being the representatives for my videos and for my channel. And this is Jack Nicholson, and it's, that clip is usually placed on, featured on Facebook and other platforms, or whatever media you want to call them. And that's Jack Nicholson, and there's a woman asking, how do you write women so well? And he turns around and says, well, I think of a man. I take away reason and accountability. So the same with these guys in Lithuania, Estonia, and Latvia, and all Poland. They want to do things, but when there's consequences, negative mind you, they're all like, what? We are the victims. No, you're not. You're not. When Russia invaded another country, you inserted yourself in the equation. You were not invited. You had nothing to do with that. Ukraine was not part of NATO, was not your treaty ally, was nothing. You did to Russia things that only an enemy would do to Russia. And that gets me to the second topic. And, well, it's related, but it's a different article, obviously. Here comes from Russia Today, 22nd of September. Trump issues new pledge to Poland and the Baltics. What's up, meow meow? Yes, what are you looking for? Come over here so people can see you, because I have a lot of people here who want to see you. Say hi, hi, meow meow. You're not in the mood to stay, I know that. You're not in the mood. Let's go. Hit that. There you go with your tail on your way out. There you go. All right. Give me your tail. Give me your fucking tail. All right. So Trump issues new pledge to Poland. And this is what is going on. Let me read you the exact quotation. The US president has promised help in case Russian aggression, though Moscow has denied it poses a threat to NATO members. So this is what he said. Speaking to reporters on Sunday, Trump was asked by Italy's ANSA news agency whether he would help defend Poland. That means get at war with Russia and the Baltic states if Russia keeps escalating. Remember, it already is known the Russians violated those airspaces. Trump replied, yeah, I would. All right, that means he is willing to fight Russia in a hot war. Who's celebrating? I know you're not celebrating. You want to take your children to school. You want to go to work. You want to enjoy your vacations, save some money, buy some things, enjoy the anniversaries and Christmas and whatever other things you celebrate. That's what you want of your life. You don't care about Israel. You don't care about Lithuania. You don't care about Ukraine. You don't care about Russia. But somehow, this guy insert in your life these issues as being something that would be ahead of everything else I mentioned as being your life. And some of us do that, unfortunately, from time to time. No, we should not care about those guys. But we do. And if we don't, we're called names or maybe lose our jobs. All right, so Trump is ready. Yeah, I would. There's other people wanting us to fight their wars because they have a profit and they will have more control over us after, if there's an after, and I hope it is one, because they think they are able to control if something breaks between the Americans and the Russians. That's what they think. The problem is, whatever the issue reaches the critical mass, critical situation beyond which you can't put the genie back. You can't. It's like you jump off a cliff, you can't climb back. You're on the way down. So once the genie was released, these guys think that they can still control it. It's going to be just a conventional war here at the extremities, a proxy war using the Lithuanian, Estonian, Poles, Romanians and all the imbeciles to fight the Russians. And the three profiteers, international banking system, military industrial complex, and the energy industry, oil, gas, and all, will continue to make more profit. And they will be able to contain it to that, only that. People will die, countries will be razed, but we will make profit because we are located in a safe haven somewhere. This is what they think. And they don't care about the Romanians, French, Brits. No, they don't. They do not care. All right. So here, I would. Good. And let's see what the Russian response is. Russia Today, 22nd of September. Moscow ready to respond to any threat. Any. If United States of America poses a threat, Moscow is ready to respond. Any means 100%. Any would show. The global security landscape continues to deteriorate, mostly due to the West's destructive policies. The Russian president has said, okay, you might disagree with what he or how he sees things, but if he sees these things, you have to dance around. Unless you're going to get in a I would with Russian nuclear power. You want to do that? So every time, my friends, when you had a debate or you want to settle a score, to solve a problem, you have to take things in the account. Like for instance, I have here a screw. Screw that you screw, and you have a hammer. What are you gonna do? The screw or the hammer is not meant for the screw. It is true that maybe you can nail a screw, but the screw that goes like this needs a different tool, a screwdriver or an electric screwdriver, but not a hammer. So you have to use the hammer, according to its abilities. You can't say, oh my God, damn it, hammer, I want you to be a screwdriver. It's not gonna be. Therefore, you have to work with a hammer and with a screw. How are you going to work? Put it down, get a screwdriver. You understand the limitation of the hammer and of the screwdriver. The screwdriver cannot hit a nail in the head, only a hammer. So if Putin says that, and that's the way they see it, as the global security landscape continues to deteriorate mostly to you guys, what are you going to do? You're going to say, it's not true. The hammer is not a hammer. The hammer is a screwdriver. No, the hammer is the hammer. You have to work with the hammer. That's it. So you have to work with it, unless you're going to just toss it away, beat the shit out of the hammer. But it's never going to turn into a screwdriver. So the same here. This is the Russians' attitude. What are you going to do about it? You can say they have to change from a hammer into a screwdriver. It's not going to happen. At this point, at least, unless you overthrow the government over there. And so far you've been failing. So you have to work with them. You have to discuss. You might not like that you have a hammer instead of a screwdriver. Let's read further. Russia is ready to respond to any threats, Putin said, adding that Moscow still supports a diplomatic path to ease tensions despite the West's destructive policies. While the West, on the other hand, says, we will defend, we'll fight you if you violate Estonia's airspace, Poland airspace, Baltic states, Baltic seas airspace, and wherever we feel like. But hey, by the way, we are in Ukraine and you came after. But hey, you're the bad dude. And Ukraine is because NATO's expansion. But no, that's our worldview. Okay, so what should the Russians do? Use the same idea as the example of the hammer. The other guy is a screwdriver and you have a nail. How are you going to hit the nail in the head in order to push it in? You can't. You can use the other side, of the screwdriver and use it to tap it. But I don't know how efficient that might be. Depends on the nail, I guess. So let's read further. Speaking ahead of Security Council meeting on Monday, Putin sounded the alarm with regard of the extreme danger of further deterioration of the geopolitical situation, particularly amid the Ukraine conflict. I know some people might say, well, take your military from Ukraine. I'm going to give you the acceptable view of some. Take your military from Ukraine, pay about $800 billion as a first tranche as a reparation to Ukraine because you destroyed that country. You, Putin, go hang yourself together with about 3,000 other Russians, bad dudes that we designate as bad dudes. You allow us to take your natural resources. You allow us to come in your country and do whatever we want and invest wherever we want on preferential status. Make your Russians work for us and eat our garbage like we already made our Western partners eat. And then what? And then let NATO take over you. Maybe we're gonna denuclearize you as well while we are at it. And maybe we divide you in about 5 parts. Is that beautiful? Yes. And Russia will never raise his head in order to win imperialistic power. But all these things show you that someone else is succeeding in doing that. This is the goal. What I mentioned to you, this is the goal. Or instead, NATO should go back to the Western Europe or simply disintegrate. Unless they say, well, we are here because of Russia and Russia is our enemy, all right? Or whomever we designate, whomever our industries designate as being the enemy of the countries, we're going to use the country's military to take care of those interests, to wipe them out so the interests can come and plunder the nations. That's what it is. So Putin said, man, we're ready. And it seems like we reached a point of no return. And Trump says, yeah, I would defend them. Okay, let's say tomorrow the Estonians say again, oh, there was 50 million Suhois 30th violated. 30 million of them. Or I know, a 4 million in pula mea. I make up numbers here. Let's say you have MiGs going, all of them over. And what do you think? And then the Estonians will say they violated and they shoot a few. And then Russia raises Estonia. United States of America will get in a war with Russia? Yes. Oh, hurrah! For what exactly? For what exactly you will not take your child to school anymore? Enjoy your vacations. And so on. For them? How did we get there? Well, I tell you how we got there. NATO's expansion eastward. That is the main cause. I'm not going to say root cause because that's what the Russian says, but main cause, that's what it is, in my view. He added that while Russia had offered specific ideas to correct the trajectory, these warnings and initiatives received no clear response. Well, kind of the same thing the other guys can claim. And I'm quoting, there should be no doubt about this, no doubt. Russia is capable of responding to any existing and newly emerging threats, responding not with words, but through the application of military technical measures. You see how nicely he said, we're going to nuke all of you motherfuckers. All right. So, Putin stressed, however, that Russia is not interested in warmongering and saber rattling. We are confident, I'm quoting, in the reliability and effectiveness of our national deterrent forces, but at the same time, we are not interested in further escalating tensions or fueling any arms race. Political and diplomatic methods for maintaining international peace based on principles of equality, indivisibility, and security and mutual consideration of interest. You have the choice of ignoring what Putin said, dismiss it, say, fuck, we don't care, right? You can do that and continue doing that, and you can make up shit or keep provoking. All the countries I'm telling you right now, Finland, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Poland, not Romania. Romania are owned, but they keep their mouth shut. They're so strong, okay? Right. These guys are instigators. All of them are instigators, with the exception of Poland, which has about 42, 43 million people, which is a big country, very well armed and so on, but still doesn't have nuclear weapons. That means a few Oreshniks will say bye-bye to you guys. You're gone and you can't hit back. That means you lose in 5 minutes. All right, if it's for real, if it's a controlled war, you're gonna have a Ukraine or something, or maybe you get to Moscow and reach your frustrations, fulfill them. Anyway, the other countries are just instigators. Finland, instigator, and the other 3 Baltic states plus Poland. Now these countries, with their instigations and their involvement in the war, they could get a smack from the Russians. But when the Russians are telling them, back off, oh my God, that's a threat. Anyway, you have the choice to ignore Russia's threats, or you should take them into consideration. This is what I think you should, or at least these guys. The Russians are consistent, not like the Americans. The Americans change their mind all the time. I change my mind. I love you. I love you today. Tomorrow I hate you. And the next day again, I love you. Well, let's do this. And the next day, no, I change my mind. And that's acceptable supposedly in America. Where I come from, you get a slap. All right? As Nick Diaz said to Ariel Hawani. Where I come from, you get a slap for that, a smack. That's exactly. But here somehow it's acceptable up to a point. Change your mind with the IRS, for instance, or change your mind with the police, or with, I don't know, with the political correctness, and you're fucked. But hey, you can change your mind with many other reasons. So the Russians never change their mind. Not never, it's an exaggeration, obviously. Usually do not change their mind, or not change their mind. If they tell you, as I say, they're going to give you $1, they're going to give you $1. If they tell you they're going to smack you, they're going to smack you. They already showed you that. But probably that's exactly what these guys want. They want a war with Russia. But as I said, a controlled war. Can you keep it over there? I don't think so. All right, my friends. Yesterday I made a video in which I claimed that we should pay attention, or at least I gave you a view on we should pay attention to this. What if the Americans and the Russians are behind the scenes? They are in agreement to sacrificing the Baltic states, Eastern Europe, to making it like a no man's land. No NATO, no Russia, sphere of influence. And they, again, a division of the world or Europe, as they did in 1945 between the Soviets and the Americans. The Brits were just sucking, you know what. They were over there, but they had no... Anyway, they were just a trampoline. You know what a trampoline you do? Step on it, jump on it. So anyway, this is what is, my friends. You choose to ignore them, or you go and talk to them. And as of now, it seems like the profiteers still have the politicians in their claws. We'll see. The guy said we're going to defend it. If it's escalate, it was escalate, not, it was not, was it? Yes, it was escalate, right there. If Russia keeps escalating, you will defend it. It didn't say Russia bombarding, escalating. So what's an escalation? All right, let's say I touch you over your shoulder. Isn't it? Okay, you say, I know, don't that, that's a violation. But what if I grab your nipple? That's an escalation. Do I deserve a smack? I do deserve a smack. What if, let's say, I caress your left or right shoulder, and then I caress your left shoulder? That's an escalation. It's twice already. Do I deserve a smack? Well, it depends who's on the receiving end and what interests you have. So again, the escalating could be, instead of 3 warplanes, will be 4 warplanes. That means the Americans will down the Russian planes. And then what? The other guys will say that's an escalation. It's exactly what this guy said, Putin, in his first thing. The global security landscape continues to deteriorate, mostly due to the West's destructive policies. And he says here, extreme danger of further deterioration. So they're ready to fight. And those guys are ready to profit. All right. Thank you very much for being with me again today, my friends. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.